This is breaking news. Scientists in Mexico simulated frequencies to the Buga sphere, and this is shocking. The Buga sphere tried to send or transmit frequencies back to these scientists in Mexico. The Buga sphere is trying to wake up and is trying to talk to us.
A metallic sphere recovered in Colombia has set the world on fire. Some say it contains a cosmic message decoded by AI, a revelation that could change everything we know about communication and existence. But as the world watches in awe, we're about to dive deeper than ever before. Can these mysterious engravings truly hold the answers to our biggest questions? Or is this just another piece of misunderstood history?
Unless you've been living under a rock in the UFO community, you've definitely heard about this. It's everywhere, it's viral, and it's sparking debate.
The sphere, described as having an intricately polished metallic surface, is adorned with an array of mysterious symbols that some believe could represent a form of structured communication. This has led to significant media coverage, with various outlets picking up on the idea that the engravings might contain some form of hidden meaning. However, amidst the widespread media excitement, there remains a great deal of uncertainty about the true nature of the objects. Some experts have dismissed the idea that these symbols carry any actual message, suggesting that they might simply be decorative patterns or random engravings. Others are more optimistic, hoping that careful analysis can unlock the meaning behind these symbols. It's a debate that has spurred ongoing investigations as the sphere's unusual characteristics continue to captivate the public's imagination. At the heart of this debate is the question of whether the symbols on the sphere represent a structured form of communication or whether they are simply random markings with no deeper meaning. To answer this question, it's crucial to apply rigorous testing methods. Without proper analysis, any claims of decoding the message remain speculative at best. This is where the importance of a comprehensive symbol corpus becomes evident. The first step in properly understanding the engravings is creating a detailed and organized catalog of every symbol on the sphere. A symbol corpus is essentially a clean, cataloged set of all the symbols, their positions, and the relationships between them. By doing so, experts can create a standardized reference point for analysis. This is crucial because without this organized catalog, it becomes impossible to verify any translation claims. The concept is somewhat similar to how musicians read a piece of music. A sheet of music provides a clear structure, with notes arranged in a specific order. Without that structure, it would be difficult to judge the quality or meaning of the music. In the same way, without a clean, cataloged inventory of the symbols, it's impossible to evaluate whether a translation is valid. Creating this corpus isn't a simple task. It requires high-resolution photographs of the sphere to document every engraving. These photos are essential for the analysis as they allow researchers to examine the symbols in detail. The photographs need to be clear and detailed, ensuring that every line, curve, and marking is captured accurately. Once these images are obtained, experts in linguistics and pattern recognition can begin the process of cataloging the symbols. This involves identifying individual symbols, documenting their positions on the sphere, and studying how these symbols interact with one another. This step is foundational for any future analysis. It's essentially about building a reference framework that all subsequent tests can be based on. Without this, any analysis risks becoming arbitrary, as there would be no standard by which to measure the claims. Once the symbols are cataloged, it becomes possible to apply linguistic analysis to determine whether the markings form a coherent pattern that could be interpreted as a language. This method ensures that any subsequent attempts to decode the symbols are based on a solid foundation of data. It's also important to note that any researcher or team claiming to decode these symbols should make their methodology transparent. This means that anyone attempting to interpret the engravings should use the same catalog of symbols and should share their methods so that others can verify the findings. Transparency is essential in any scientific endeavor, but it is especially critical in a case like this, where extraordinary claims are being made. If the sphere does indeed contain a message, then it is crucial that the decoding process follows a standardized and rigorous methodology that can be replicated by other researchers. This approach may seem straightforward, but it's not without its challenges. The symbols on the sphere are unlike anything seen in known languages, which means that any attempt to decipher them is bound to encounter difficulties. In addition, the engravings themselves may not conform to the same rules that govern human languages, meaning that researchers might have to approach the task in unconventional ways. Linguistics experts are used to analyzing known languages, but deciphering an entirely unknown set of symbols requires a different set of skills and a different mindset. As part of the investigation, researchers will need to apply a range of analytical tools to assess whether the markings behave like language. In the field of linguistics, certain statistical patterns and structures are used to identify language. Real languages, for instance, have specific frequency distributions for symbols and letters, as well as rules for word formation, sentence structure, and grammar. In contrast, random or decorative symbols tend to show no such regularities. Therefore, linguistic tests can reveal whether the symbols on the sphere follow the same statistical patterns that we see in known languages. The need for careful, methodical analysis is also underscored by the fact that this phenomenon is gaining widespread attention. As media outlets across the globe report on the sphere and the possibility that it contains a message, it's essential that the investigation is grounded in facts rather than speculation. Public interest is high, but it's vital that the research remains scientific and evidence-based. As exciting as the potential implications of this discovery may be, it's equally important to approach the analysis with the necessary skepticism and rigor. At the same time, the search for answers presents an opportunity to advance our understanding of how humans interpret symbols and communication. If the sphere does indeed contain a message, it could have profound implications for fields such as linguistics, anthropology, and even technology development. It might open new doors for exploring how communication could occur through unfamiliar means, beyond the conventional structures that we are familiar with. In the next stages of this investigation, the symbol cataloging process will continue, as will the various tests to determine whether the markings on the sphere exhibit patterns consistent with human language. The mystery of the sphere is far from solved, but the effort to decode its symbols represents a critical step in uncovering the truth behind this remarkable object. What researchers discover in the coming months could reshape the way we think about communication, language, and even the way we view extraterrestrial life. In conclusion, the discovery of this metallic sphere with its enigmatic engravings has the potential to be a groundbreaking moment in scientific research. However, before jumping to conclusions, it's important that any claims about its meaning be carefully tested and verified through rigorous analysis. The creation of a comprehensive symbol corpus is just the first step in what promises to be a long and fascinating journey. This research will require collaboration, transparency, and careful attention to detail, but the potential rewards, both in terms of scientific understanding and broader cultural implications, could be immense. The debate surrounding the metallic sphere recovered in Colombia has taken an intriguing turn, especially with the recent claims that artificial intelligence, AI, decoded a godlike message hidden within its engravings. This revelation, primarily reported by several media outlets, suggests that the mysterious markings on the sphere may represent a structured form of communication. The alleged message, which has captured the imagination of many, reads like a poetic reflection on existence and the universe, stirring both wonder and skepticism in equal measure. According to reports from prominent news outlets such as the New York Post and the Economic Times, the AI supposedly decoded the sphere's engravings into a message that describes the cyclical nature of creation and the expansion of consciousness. The translated message, described as philosophical and profound, says, "From origin springs the eternal dance of creation. Through union and separation, consciousness expands beyond singular existence. The cosmic symphony transforms matter into meaning. When boundaries dissolve, unity reveals itself as the fundamental truth of all beings." This message, if true, could be revolutionary, suggesting that the sphere contains knowledge far beyond our current understanding of language and communication. However, there are significant issues surrounding the credibility of this translation. While the message has been widely shared on social media and in tabloid articles, it has not been published in any peer-reviewed journal or formal linguistic study. The most critical concern here is the absence of transparency regarding the translation methodology. No one has disclosed the process or algorithm used by AI to arrive at this message. This lack of transparency raises immediate questions about the authenticity of the translation and whether it accurately reflects the patterns found on the sphere. To assess the validity of this claim, it's essential to address the central question: does the message actually correspond to the patterns on the sphere? Do the engravings contain enough unique characters or symbols to encode such a complex message? The answer to this question requires careful linguistic analysis, as well as an understanding of how real languages function. Linguists have long used statistical methods to determine whether a series of symbols represents a form of language or whether it is merely a random arrangement of decorative elements. One of the key tests in linguistic analysis is to examine the frequency distribution of symbols. In real languages, certain symbols or letters appear more frequently than others, and their distribution follows a predictable pattern. This is known as Zipf's law, which is a statistical principle that suggests the frequency of a word or symbol is inversely proportional to its rank in frequency. In other words, a small number of symbols will appear very frequently, while the majority will occur less often. If the sphere's engravings truly represent a structured language, then the frequency distribution of its symbols should conform to this statistical pattern. On the other hand, decorative patterns do not exhibit these kinds of statistical regularities. Decorative designs typically involve evenly distributed elements with no significant variation in the frequency of individual components. The contrast between these two types of patterns is stark and measurable, and this is where linguistic analysis becomes crucial. By applying statistical methods, researchers can compare the sphere symbols to known linguistic patterns and determine whether they exhibit characteristics of a real language or if they are simply ornamental designs. Moreover, the structure of a language is governed by certain rules and regularities. Real languages have grammatical rules that determine the order and arrangement of symbols within sentences or phrases. These rules govern how words and phrases are structured to convey meaning. If the symbols on the sphere are part of a genuine language, we should expect to see some form of consistent structure or order in the arrangement of the engravings. For example, in many languages, certain symbols or characters appear at the beginning or end of a sentence, while others occur in specific positions within the sentence. These positional rules are essential for determining the meaning of a sentence and for distinguishing between language and mere decoration. However, at this stage, there is no evidence to suggest that the symbols on the sphere follow any known grammatical or structural rules. The initial tests of the sphere's engravings have not revealed any consistent patterns of word order or syntactical structure. This raises further questions about the authenticity of the claimed message and whether the markings on the sphere are anything more than random or decorative patterns. As researchers continue to investigate the sphere, one of the most important tasks is to examine the symbols' frequency distributions and positional relationships more thoroughly. If the symbols do not conform to the statistical patterns and structural regularities that characterize real languages, it would suggest that the engravings are likely not a form of structured communication. However, if these patterns do emerge, it would provide strong evidence in favor of the idea that the sphere contains a meaningful message. Another essential aspect of this investigation is the question of whether the sphere's engravings can be mapped onto any known linguistic structure. In order to make sense of the symbols, researchers need to determine whether they can be grouped into categories or families based on their shapes or meanings. One possible approach to decoding the symbols is to group them according to their visual similarities. For example, triangular shapes could represent one category of symbols, while curved shapes could represent another. This method, known as shape family analysis, has been used in the study of ancient scripts and languages to identify possible character sets. If the symbols on the sphere can be grouped in this way, it could provide important clues about their meaning and help researchers identify patterns that might not be immediately apparent. Additionally, positional grammar analysis could help identify the relationships between symbols and their positions on the sphere. This analysis would involve studying the sequence and placement of symbols to see if there are any consistent patterns that align with grammatical rules. For example, certain symbols might appear more frequently at the beginning or end of a sequence, suggesting that they serve a specific grammatical function. By mapping the symbols' positions and examining their relationships, linguists may be able to uncover hidden structures that could reveal the meaning of the engravings. A third approach involves using motif anchors to identify patterns based on the central design of the sphere. The sphere's central rosette design could serve as a reference point, with the surrounding symbols radiating outward in a specific sequence or pattern. This could be similar to the way that chapters or verses are organized in a book or poem. By identifying these motif anchors, researchers may be able to uncover a logical progression in the symbols' arrangement, which could shed light on their meaning. These three decoding paths, shape family analysis, positional grammar analysis, and motif anchor identification, each offer different perspectives on the symbols and their potential meaning. Each method has its strengths and weaknesses, and each one may provide valuable insights into the sphere's engravings. The key challenge is to apply these methods systematically and to compare the results to see which one provides the most convincing evidence. As researchers continue to test these hypotheses, they must also consider the possibility that the sphere's engravings do not represent a language at all. It is possible that the markings are simply decorative elements, or that they serve a different purpose altogether. In this case, the focus would shift from decoding the symbols to understanding the cultural or artistic significance of the sphere. It's also important to consider the possibility that the symbols might be a form of communication that is completely unfamiliar to us, and therefore difficult to decode using traditional linguistic methods. The mystery surrounding the metallic sphere remains unresolved, but the ongoing investigation is essential for determining whether the engravings truly contain a hidden message. As researchers continue to explore the sphere's symbols, they must remain open to all possibilities and carefully test every hypothesis. The path to uncovering the truth will require patience, persistence, and a rigorous commitment to the scientific method. Only through careful analysis and transparent research can we hope to unravel the secrets of this enigmatic object. The investigation into the mysterious metallic sphere has moved into a critical phase as researchers work to verify the authenticity of the message allegedly encoded in its engravings. While much attention has been given to the visual patterns and statistical analysis of the symbols, the next step in this investigation involves testing whether the sphere can respond to external stimuli. The extraordinary claim that the sphere might react to Sanskrit mantras presents an opportunity for more rigorous scientific testing to either confirm or debunk this hypothesis. This claim, which has been reported by several media outlets, suggests that the sphere might not only contain a hidden message, but could also exhibit unusual properties when exposed to certain sounds or vibrations. To test this, a controlled audio trial is necessary, as it would provide objective data to determine whether the sphere truly responds to external stimuli, such as the chanting of mantras. In order to conduct this test, a careful and methodical approach is required. The first step involves preparing 3 distinct audio files: the Sanskrit mantra that is claimed to trigger a response, random speech in the same language, and a control file with complete silence. These files must be played back in a randomized schedule that is unknown to the person monitoring the equipment. This is crucial to eliminate any unconscious bias that could influence the results. By having the playback schedule concealed from the researcher, it ensures that the data collected will reflect a genuine response from the sphere, rather than an inadvertent reaction to prior knowledge of what is being played. The next phase of the test involves setting up high-sensitivity sensors around the sphere to measure any electromagnetic emissions, temperature changes, or vibrations during the playback of the audio files. These sensors will collect data in real time, logging any significant changes or fluctuations that occur when the Sanskrit mantra, random speech, or silence is played. The data will then be analyzed to identify any patterns or correlations between the audio played and the sphere's response. For example, if the sphere responds only to the Sanskrit mantra, it would indicate that the sound has a measurable effect on the object, potentially revealing an unknown property or characteristic. A critical part of this experiment is the use of blinded testing. The person recording the data must not know which audio file is being played during each test, as this further minimizes the risk of bias affecting the results. By ensuring that the researcher is unaware of which audio is playing, the data collection process remains objective and scientifically rigorous. This methodology is widely used in scientific experiments to maintain the integrity of the results and ensure that the findings are based solely on the evidence, not preconceived expectations. Once the data is collected, the next step is to analyze the results to determine whether any consistent, measurable differences appeared during the playback of the Sanskrit mantra. If the sphere reacts differently to the mantra compared to the random speech or silence, it would suggest that the object possesses some form of responsiveness to certain stimuli. However, if the data shows no significant differences between the different audio files, it would indicate that the sphere does not respond to the sound in any measurable way, and the claim that the object reacts to Sanskrit mantras would need to be reevaluated. One important aspect of this experiment is the control condition, which provides a baseline for comparison. The control condition, where no audio is played, allows the researchers to measure the sphere's natural state without any external influence. If the sphere behaves consistently during the control phase, it provides a clear reference point against which the other conditions can be compared. If the results from the mantra playback differ significantly from the control, it would support the hypothesis that the sphere responds to certain stimuli. However, if the results from all three conditions are similar, it would suggest that the sphere's behavior is not influenced by external sounds, and the claim of a response to Sanskrit mantras would require further scrutiny. The results of this test could have profound implications for the ongoing investigation. If the sphere is shown to respond to the Sanskrit mantra in a measurable way, it would lend support to the idea that the object possesses unique, unexplained properties. This would raise important questions about the nature of the sphere and whether it is simply an ancient artifact, a technological object, or something entirely outside the realm of our current understanding. On the other hand, if the sphere shows no measurable response, it would significantly undermine the claims that it reacts to certain stimuli, suggesting that the reports may have been based on misinterpretations or wishful thinking. This test is one of several that will help researchers determine the true nature of the sphere. In addition to examining its responsiveness to sound, other analyses are being conducted to investigate the sphere's material composition, structural integrity, and any possible traces of unusual technology. These tests are important because they provide crucial data about the object's physical properties and whether it aligns with known materials or manufacturing techniques. For example, materials testing could reveal whether the sphere is made from common alloys or if it contains any elements that are not typically found in everyday objects. Similarly, internal scans such as X-rays or CT scans can provide detailed images of the sphere's internal structure, revealing whether it contains any unusual mechanisms or internal components that might explain its mysterious properties. Another key aspect of the investigation involves the systematic mapping of the sphere's symbols. While the initial test focused on analyzing the sphere's responsiveness to external stimuli, understanding the symbols themselves is just as important. To decode the engravings, linguists and cryptographers are using three distinct analytical paths: shape families, positional grammar, and motif anchors. These methods provide different perspectives on the symbols and their potential meaning, allowing researchers to identify possible character sets, grammatical structures, and patterns that could shed light on their true nature. Shape family analysis involves grouping similar-looking symbols together based on their visual characteristics. This method can reveal whether certain symbols belong to specific semantic categories or whether they form a distinct character set. Positional grammar analysis, on the other hand, focuses on the positions of symbols within the engravings. In many languages, certain characters appear at the beginning or end of sentences, while others are used in specific contexts. By studying the positions of the symbols on the sphere, researchers can determine whether there are any consistent rules governing their placement, which can indicate a deeper structure or meaning. Finally, motif anchor analysis involves identifying patterns based on the central design of the sphere, which may serve as a reference point for the surrounding symbols. This method could reveal whether the symbols follow a logical progression similar to the structure of a poem or book, helping researchers map the symbols to a coherent structure. By combining these three analytical methods, researchers hope to uncover the hidden meaning behind the engravings and determine whether they form a structured, communicative system. The results of these tests, combined with the data from the audio response experiment, will provide a clearer picture of the sphere's nature and whether it contains a genuine message or if the markings are purely decorative. As the investigation into the metallic sphere continues, researchers have begun to examine several possible explanations for its origin and purpose. The mysterious engravings, coupled with the extraordinary claims about its possible function, have led to three primary theories. The sphere could be a crafted transmitter, a prototype instrument, or a non-human probe. Each of these theories presents a distinct set of predictions that can be tested through careful scientific analysis. The goal of this phase of the investigation is to determine which of these scenarios best fits the available evidence. The first scenario, that the sphere is a crafted transmitter, suggests that the object is a deliberately designed artifact intended to carry encoded information. This theory posits that the engravings represent a form of structured communication, either created recently or in the distant past. If this theory is correct, key indicators would include precision-engineered materials, a non-random internal structure, and symbols that follow linguistic or communicative patterns. Materials testing could reveal whether the sphere is made from unusual alloys or if it contains any traces of advanced manufacturing techniques that are not commonly used in modern industry. A crafted transmitter would likely show signs of intentional design, such as tool marks or patterns that suggest a deliberate effort to encode information. To test this hypothesis, researchers would need to conduct detailed materials testing using methods such as X-ray fluorescence, XRF, analysis, which can quickly identify the elements that make up the sphere without damaging the object. XRF can reveal whether the sphere is composed of metals or alloys that are not typically found in industrial or archaeological artifacts. If the materials are consistent with known manufacturing processes, this would suggest that the sphere is a human-made object. However, if the materials show anomalies or exotic compositions that cannot be easily explained, it could lend support to the idea that the sphere is more than just an ordinary object. Additionally, imaging techniques like micro-CT scanning could provide detailed internal images of the sphere, allowing researchers to examine its internal structure and determine whether it contains any components that suggest it was designed to transmit or store information. This second theory, that the sphere is a prototype instrument, suggests that it may be a tool with symbolic or instructional markings. In this scenario, the symbols on the sphere are not necessarily intended to convey a message in the way that a language would, but rather they might serve as operational instructions for a device or mechanism. This theory would predict that the sphere is made from standard industrial materials and contains functional components designed for a specific purpose. Other than being a transmitter of information, the sphere might be a tool with markings that serve to guide its use or operation. These markings could be arranged in patterns that resemble those found in instruction manuals or technical diagrams, providing insight into the sphere's intended function. Testing this hypothesis would involve a different set of methods than those used for the crafted transmitter theory. Materials testing would still be crucial, but the focus would be on identifying industrial materials that are commonly used in tools and instruments. If the sphere contains internal mechanisms, these should be examined to determine whether they correspond to known mechanical systems or whether they show evidence of non-standard or innovative design. The symbols on the surface would also need to be analyzed for their potential connection to instructional patterns. If the markings follow a format that is commonly used in technical drawings or manuals, it would suggest that the sphere is an object designed for a functional purpose rather than a purely communicative one. The third theory, that the sphere is a non-human probe, presents the most intriguing and far-reaching possibility. This theory suggests that the sphere is an engineered device from an external source, such as extraterrestrial technology or an unknown civilization. According to this hypothesis, the engravings might represent a form of communication that is entirely unfamiliar to us, one that does not conform to the linguistic or symbolic patterns that we are accustomed to. The symbols could be part of a complex system of communication that is beyond the scope of human understanding. This scenario would require the sphere to possess unusual material properties such as exotic metals or non-random responses to stimuli that cannot be easily explained by current technology. Additionally, the symbols would likely follow a grammatical structure that is unfamiliar to human languages, further suggesting that the sphere's origins lie outside of human technology. Testing this hypothesis would be the most challenging, as it involves investigating the possibility that the sphere is not of human origin. Materials testing would be critical, as the composition of the sphere could provide clues as to whether it is made from known or unknown materials. Isotopic analysis could be used to determine the age of the materials and whether they exhibit any unusual signatures that are not typically found in earthly objects. If the sphere contains metals or compounds that do not match anything found on Earth, it would lend significant weight to the theory that the sphere is of non-human origin. Furthermore, researchers would need to examine how the sphere responds to external stimuli, such as sound, heat, or electromagnetic fields. If the sphere reacts in ways that cannot be explained by known physical laws or technologies, it would further support the idea that the object is not of human design. One of the most important aspects of testing these three hypotheses is the use of an evidence matrix, which can help determine which scenario is the most plausible based on the available data. The evidence matrix is a tool that allows researchers to compare the different theories against a set of verified data points. By systematically evaluating the evidence and determining which theory aligns most closely with the observed facts, researchers can make a more informed judgment about the sphere's true nature. The more data points that support a particular theory, the stronger that theory becomes. For example, if materials testing reveals that the sphere is made from exotic alloys that are not found in common industrial processes, this would provide support for the non-human probe theory. If the symbols on the sphere show consistent patterns that align with linguistic structures or technical instructions, this could suggest that the sphere is either a crafted transmitter or a prototype instrument. By evaluating each piece of evidence against the competing theories, researchers can begin to narrow down the possibilities and form a clearer understanding of the sphere's purpose and origin. This investigation is not just about uncovering the truth behind a mysterious object. It also has broader implications for our understanding of communication, technology, and the search for extraterrestrial life. If the sphere is indeed a form of communication, it could offer valuable insights into how advanced civilizations, whether human or non-human, encode and transmit information. It could also raise important questions about the nature of intelligence and consciousness, particularly if the sphere is shown to possess properties that suggest it was created by a non-human source. As the investigation moves forward, it is essential that researchers remain open to all possibilities and continue to apply rigorous scientific methods. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and the search for the truth behind the sphere must be guided by a commitment to transparency, objectivity, and empirical data. Whether the sphere turns out to be a crafted transmitter, a prototype instrument, or a non-human probe, the findings of this investigation will likely have far-reaching consequences for our understanding of the universe and our place within it. Ultimately, the role of the public in this investigation is crucial. As new data emerges, it is important for the research community to share their findings openly and transparently, allowing others to contribute their expertise and insights. The power of collective intelligence and collaboration can often uncover answers that individual researchers cannot achieve alone. Whether or not the sphere contains a message, the investigation itself offers a fascinating glimpse into the mysteries of the universe and the potential for discovery beyond the known boundaries of human science. The search for answers continues, and the pursuit of truth remains at the heart of this extraordinary investigation.